who, towns who are here. Provincial Commissioner of Police, the MECs who are here. I greet you all and want to welcome this opportunity of being amongst you, and more particularly of hearing the work that is being done here and the progress that is being recorded as we deal with this very difficult COVID-19 situation that has befallen our country and indeed the whole world. We do wish we could have come at a time when we would have been discussing more pleasant matters, but we have to deal with the crisis that has descended on our country. I must say that apart from thanking you for the briefing, Premier, I'm rather pleased to hear the progress that you are making in dealing with this COVID-19 crisis. Much as in Mpumalanga, we've got 1,478 cases, as well as a number of recoveries that we've had. Your province is still much better placed than other provinces such as the Western Cape and Gauteng and the Eastern Cape and KZN. I'm not saying that you should count your luck, because we are still in the midst of a rising peak of infections, and we can already see that the infections are rising here as well. We are obviously concerned about the increased infections in other parts of the country, especially in Gauteng, which is rising exponentially and which could soon overtake the Western Cape. That is a matter of great concern to us. But I must say that listening to your report, Premier, and the strategies that you are putting in place to deal with COVID-19, one takes a lot of comfort in knowing and hearing that you are focusing on the key issues. Particularly pleased that your response strategy, as you have articulated it, has identified key priority areas, which is managing the health crisis itself, which is obviously the key area that we need to focus on, all of us. But it's also pleasing to know that in your priority areas, you've also decided to focus on protecting vulnerable people in our province here in Mpumalanga, and coming up with a number of interventions that will protect vulnerable people. And you're also focusing on the food supply chain to ensure that what has been stalking many of our people, which is hunger, is well contained and managed. But in what you are planning, you include the economy, which fits in very well with our national approach, which is saving lives and preserving livelihoods. And we're pleased to hear that here in Mpumalanga you are balancing the two, focusing on the health of our people, but also focusing on how we can protect the livelihoods. And it's pleasing also to see and hear that you are underpinning all this with a very strong stakeholder engagement approach, which is very good because this is where our response strategy needs to be focusing a lot of attention on. And your response strategy also focuses on behavioral change, that we should get our people to change their behavior. One of the strongest weapons that we've got against the coronavirus is to change our behavior, having accepted that we've got to live with this virus. This virus is not going to fly away or go away or walk away anytime soon. It is going to be with us. When Dr. Mkhize told me that, President, this virus may well be with us for even up to 2 years or more, I got really worried and I thought he was smoking something. But now what he has said is coming to pass, because it was right at the beginning when he even said that many of us in South Africa will be infected by this virus. And even then I thought he was drinking something. But it is now happening. And the lockdown was a heavy-duty weapon that we used, but it served its purpose in as far as slowing down the rate of infection. But we always knew, and we had been advised, that we were going to start seeing rising infections, as we are seeing now in a number of parts of our country. And much as your infections are still at a low ebb, we are going to see them rising. But what I am pleased about is that you are getting ready, you are ready, and getting readier and readier by the day. Your focus on behavior change and raising the level of awareness and spreading knowledge about COVID-19 and ensuring that there is protective behavior amongst our people as they should take care of each other and themselves is a very positive step on your part. And we're very, very pleased that your response strategy to coronavirus is focusing on that area. And as I said earlier, your community engagement, which is also underpinned by communication, is also very important. We need to be spreading the message broadly and widely about coronavirus so that our people must become more and more aware that this is a dangerous virus and that we've got to protect ourselves through our behavior. And we keep saying, and we will continue saying, that some of the protective measures we should take are in our toolbox, as we've always said, which is washing our hands, the hygiene that is related thereto, the cough etiquette, wearing a mask, and making sure that we have social distancing. These are important because the virus is spread when we don't do all these things. Premier, I'm particularly pleased to hear that you've just taken it further down to the ward level, that you're focusing now on the ward, and in doing so, you're also focusing on surveillance, making sure that you are able to do proper surveillance and also focus on contact tracing. Those are important measures that we should use as we proceed to deal with managing coronavirus. I'm also pleased to hear that there is just one message, and one message approach is very important, that all people, leaders in various formations, various stakeholder institutions, including leaders in government, should all have one message that they are spreading around, and we're very pleased. The screening initiative that you have embarked on is quite impressive, that you have already screened so many people, almost 4.5 million have been screened. It's very impressive with the almost 44,000 tests here in Mpumalanga. That in itself is very, very impressive indeed. And we commend you for that. But another aspect which is very, very good and positive is that of getting the community to be accountable to one another. That each one must look after everyone, but at the same time we must be accountable by making sure that we insist on people wearing masks. And if we see somebody not wearing a mask, we must immediately say, why are you not wearing your mask? And we must also remind people on a continuous basis, armed with this accountability approach, that people must wash their hands regularly, and where surfaces must also be cleaned on a continuous basis. But I guess part of the real positive thing you are also doing is to establish coronavirus forums. This is fantastic. It's good. It's a new approach from the province of the rising sun. It's good to hear that you are also moving forward to establish coronavirus forums, because it is through establishing these forums that we will be able to inculcate the approach and the discipline of behavior change. I commend you with that type of approach, and I will be propagating it countrywide, that we should all throughout the country establish coronavirus forums where people can have discussions about coronavirus, how it is manifesting itself in our nation, and what we can do to support those who are either infected. Because we've got another problem that is really raging in our country, the intolerance that people have to those who are seen as having contracted the coronavirus disease, and the stigmatization, where people now begin to fear and avoid and not even want to be, in contact or in the same vicinity with people who are known to have either contracted it and recovered. So the stigmatization must end, because we cannot move forward with the level of intolerance that is being displayed by some within our nation. You're also focusing on hotspots, and I think that is good. We were advised by Minister Mkhize's advisory panel that as we move to lower levels through the risk-adjusted strategy, that there will be fires that will flare up, and those will be hotspots, that we need to have tools to immediately go to those hotspot areas and douse off the fire and kill the fire. I'm glad that in your strategy you've identified that you do need to have a strategy for hotspots. Your focus on the economy of our province here is quite impressive and admirable. I must commend you with that, because you are already looking at the impact that COVID-19 is having on the economy of the province, and as you look at the health aspect, you are also looking at the economic aspect, how to preserve lives. The reality that our country faces is that as we navigate our way through dealing with COVID-19, it is going to be having a devastating impact on the economy of our country. We can already see the slide. We are already in a recession. And in the next 3 months, when they count where we are, we'll find that we are in a much deeper recession. Many of our people are going to lose jobs. It's just going to be great hardship that lies ahead. Premier, I'm pleased to see that you are already coming up with plans and strategies on how to deal with the economic hardships that our people are going to face. You're already looking at various sectors of the economy here in Mpumalanga: agriculture, mining, tourism, and all those sectors of the economy are real pillars of the economy of Mpumalanga here, and I'm glad to see and to hear that you're already coming up with plans on how to engineer a recovery process. And we will seek to support you from national level, from a health perspective, also from an economic perspective. We are very pleased. I'm particularly pleased with the plans that you've put in place and you're putting in place for addressing a number of the challenges, including how you want to develop the township economy, agro-processing, irrigation, and mining, and all those other areas. I want to end with the issue that you have raised, which is a concerning issue, which is the second pandemic that our country is now facing. You have informed us that there have been 730 cases of gender-based violence reported, and this is worrying. This is worrying indeed. All of us need to stand on our feet and say there should be no place to hide, indeed, as you correctly say, for perpetrators of gender-based violence. And I'm glad that the province is taking that type of approach towards and against gender-based violence, that those who are perpetrators should have no place to hide. And as we have said before, we will be going ahead with legislation to ensure that we protect the women of our country and the children of our country against abuse, because the abuse that's happening in our country now against women and children is totally unacceptable, and we've got to stop it. We've got to stop the rapes of women, and indeed even young girls as 3 years old. We've got to stop the killing of women in our country. And I'm pleased to know that this is an area of focus also in the province, even during the period of COVID-19. So, Premier, what I have heard, what Minister Kiza and other ministers have heard here today does show that the province is properly seized with this challenge of COVID-19. You are embarking on a number of strategic interventions to deal with this pandemic, and we applaud you for this. And now we will obviously be going to various centers that you would like us to go and see how best you are managing it. Lastly, I was very pleased to hear that you're using technology to good effect in all what you're doing, in managing the pandemic, in tracing those who may have come into contact with those who are infected, and also developing apps. This is very pleasing. It shows that indeed Mpumalanga is indeed the province of the rising sun. So I'm sure that all of us can look forward to seeing new things coming out of Mpumalanga as we are now. And there is a lot that other provinces can learn from Mpumalanga, because it is where the sun rises that we can always get new ways of doing things, we can always get wisdom, we can always get very good responses to whatever crisis we're facing. So, Premier, I applaud you and I thank you for the briefing. I think we will continue to manage COVID-19 properly here in Mpumalanga, even as we're seeing rises going on. And I congratulate you and I thank you, together with your MECs, the mayors who are here, and your officials. This is a good presentation, and this is good work that is being done here. So thank you very much, Premier. We thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We are quite comforted and very much pleased by the commitment that you have made that indeed, as national government, you will be giving support to the province. And we must also appreciate the support that we have received thus far from national. It is quite commendable and very helpful. And Mr. President, I think we are also pleased